Hello everybody, my name is Wilfred and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to clarify out some issues concerning missing data and the best approaches to apply on different types of data and when to apply them. Recently, I've received a number of messages and emails from individuals who at some point need some help or need some clarification on which is the best method or approach are they supposed to apply on their data when they come across the missing data. But what I realized, like 80% of the claims that I've received is that in summary, there is a confusion on the best method to apply on different types of data. So like there is that kind of confusion on which between the methods of following missing data and the different data types. So in today's video, I'm going to break down the key differences between these data sets and explain when to use them. Especially we are going to narrow down these to 3 types of data sets and the 2 major methods of handling missing data. That is multiple imputation and linear interpolation. So imagine this scenario. You have these 2 types of data sets. As you can see, the first let us concentrate on the first two columns at this point. If you are keen, you can be able to see the first 2 columns. We have the name of the country and we have the year. So you can be able to see the year 2010 to 2020 for each and every country. And now for the parameters that we have in this case, we have the GDP growth, we have the GDP and foreign direct investment and so on. But I want you to be keen on this part. Now, just mark this. Let us mark this data as data A. Now, this scenario 1, data A. Now we have scenario 2 or data P, whereby now we have the ID, we have the time. So the best or the crucial variables or columns in this, the first 2. So we have the ID and the time. So what you can observe from this is that for the variable ID, the ID has repeated itself 3 times at different times. So you can be able to see ID number 1 at time 1, ID number 1 at time 2, ID 1 at time 3. Can you see that? Now move to the second ID, which is ID number 2. So you can see the ID number 2 has repeated itself 3 times against time 1, time 2, time 3. I think this is the first observation. The first observation you can get from this second data. Another observation is that if you scroll across the parameters, you can be able to see we have the promotion applied, we have the total sales, we have customer satisfaction, then we have gender, and we have the satisfaction level. Categories into low, medium, and high. Yes. Yeah, and high. So the second observation or the second thing you realize from this second data is that it is a mixture of both categorical data, which you can be able to see from this gender and the satisfactional level, and continuous data, which you can be able to see based on these two variables or parameters. That is the second observation we can get from this uh, second data. And now, for the first data, actually everything is the parameters are continuous. So just have this in mind that we are going, at the end of the day, we are going to understand exactly what type of data is this. And when, like, if you see on scenario P, we have the missing data. I think you can be able to see that. We have the missing data. And now at the end of the day, we are going to understand what exact methodology or technique are we supposed to apply on this kind of data to handle this missing data. So that's our main objective here. Good. Having presented that, let us go to this. Have some presentation here, which are going to give us some fundamental information. Now, let us start with the first type of data that I'm going to explain and clarify which technique is important or is crucial or is applicable or appropriate to it is the time series data. So that is our first data. And you can be able to see this type of data tracks a single variable over time at irregular intervals. Each observation represents a unique time point. And then a common example include the stock prices. I know everyone is aware of this. We have the weather data and economic indicators like GDP and inflation rate, etc. So data points are ordered in time, making temporal dependencies crucial for analysis. Then an example is a country's GDP growth recorded annually from 2010 to 2020. And this data is actually important or commonly used in financial modeling, weather forecasting, and economic research. So as you can see from my table here, so we have a country Kenya from 2010. Actually, this it's supposed to be 2019, 2020. So from 2010 to 2020, you can be able to see this second point where we say that each observation represents a unique time point. Like for instance, in the year 2010, we have a unique observation of 8.06 GDP growth. So this is directly proportional to the year 2010. So unique time point. And if you go to year 2011, the GDP growth was 5.12. And if you move to the year 2020, sorry, I repeated this at 2010, but it's supposed to be 2020, it is negative 0.27. And obvious, we know, like if you see 2019, 2020, we know this the period when COVID, coronavirus was at climax. So the growth was negative at this point. I think that's just an observation you can get from that. So okay, this is now this is an example of the time series data. And now from the data I presented, let me go back to it. So if I decide to have, let us say for country Algeria, from 2010 to 2020, if I decide to pick out each and every, like GDP of each and every country independently, then that data qualifies to be a time series data. So, and the next time, if you have a paper, if you have a research, if you have a scenario whereby you have a data that has time point, like as observation, and each observation has it is unique, the unique point in terms of time, then that data qualifies to be time series data. Good. let us move. I hope you understand this. In case of any clarification, you can also comment. Give a comment below. I'll be able to reply to it. Now let us move to the second type of data. The second type of data is what we call binary data. Binary data, also known as cross-sectional time series. Now, what is this binary data or a cross-sectional time series? Now, this type of data, it follows multiple entry entities over time, providing both time dimension and an entity cross-sectional dimension, often used to analyze the behavior of firms, countries, or individuals over time. The third point is that it allows for more complex analysis, including controlling or for unobserved heterogeneity across entities. So example, we have tracking GDP and FDI from multiple countries from 2010 to 2020. And now you can see a very unique, a very important note here. Binary data enables comparison across multiple entities while accounting for changes over time. Widely used in econometrics, business strategy analysis, and social sciences. So you can see an example here. We have a country like Algeria from 2010 to 2020. And now this data you can be able to see, like we are talking about FDI here, we have the GDP growth. Now the next we have United States 2010 all the way to 2020. So if you have a type of data that has similar structure, then automatically that data qualifies to be called binary data or cross-sectional time series data. And I also want you to keep this in mind. Do not confuse cross-sectional time series data with cross-sectional data. Okay, we have cross-sectional data. Maybe we'll be able to cover this next time. We have cross-sectional data, so that's totally different from cross-sectional time series data. So that's another thing you need to be careful on. Good. I hope you understand. And now you at least you understand what is time series data and what is binary data or cross-sectional time series, and how to differentiate the two. So this data I presented in scenario 1, or our first data, this qualifies to be a binary data, and you're going to be able to see I got this from World Development Indicators. So you can be able to just log in, create account sort of free as a public. You log in, you download this kind of data. So if you have a data of this kind of format, this qualifies to be a panel data or cross-sectional time series. So that's our second type of data type or data set. Sorry, not data sets. Now let us move to the third one, which is also the last one. Now is what we call longitudinal data. So most I know there might be a confusion, or many individuals may confuse longitudinal data and binary data. But now watching this video or watching this following this the explanation, I think you'll be able now to understand what is the difference between the binary data and longitudinal data, because at some point they look similar. They can be similar actually, but there is a difference. So similar to binary data, but primarily focuses on tracking individuals or a unit observation over time. So that's the key note or the key difference between longitudinal data and binary data. So this one focus on tracking individuals or units of observation over time. Now the key difference from binary data, greater emphasis on studying individual changes over time rather than comparisons between entities. This is where binary data and longitudinal data diverges at this point. So we have said that this binary data, okay, it emphasizes on the key difference with the binary data is that longitudinal data, it emphasizes on studying individual changes over time rather than comparisons between entities. So we saw that like the previous the panel data, you can be able to see that kind of comparisons between the entities, like the GDP maybe of a country, maybe we have like 10 countries. So we are trying to compare what is the GDP growth between 2010 to 2020 in the United States in comparison with the United Kingdom, maybe in Africa, you understand, all those across those entities. But this one is actually it emphasizes on studying individual changes. So like if you have like in this case I'm using this total revenue and the customer satisfaction score. Like you have a business and in this business the individuals or you have customers who each and every time they come for maybe into your store, they just walk into your store maybe to pick some goods. So at the end of the day, maybe you track, you track, you have that tracking record maybe system, whereby now you'll be able to track maybe the gender, the customer gender, the total revenue for each and every customer, and the customer satisfaction score. So you see, at that point, you may decide to do this at maybe 3 different times. Like you can be able to see, like at this point, you can be able to see. Sorry, this is supposed to be this is supposed to be time 1 2 3, time 1 2 3 and so on. The gender, you can be able to see is male male, female female, male male, and so on. Total revenue, like that. So you can be able to see this type of data allows researchers to observe development, trends, and the causal relationship between a subject over time. So common applications, it is used in medical research, e.g. patient progress, education, e.g. student performance tracking, and in psychology, e.g. behavioral studies. So that's where majority of this type of data sets is can be found. So like in this exam now, I'm tracking customer sales and satisfaction over 3 periods. That's why you can be able to see time 1, 2, 3. And now this data, this is the type of data I presented in scenario P. Now this is the data set B, or scenario, the second scenario. You can be able to see we have the ID repeated 3 times. You can be able to see all the way. Actually in this I have 500 what? I have 500 customers. So if you look at the observation here, we have the total observation 15 to be 1500. So 500 multiply 3 gives you 1500. So if I scroll all the way to this point, you can be able to see here. This is the last customer, the 5. So we have 500 customers, but now this is being done in 3 time periods. So we have time 1, 2, 3, time 1, 2, 3. And as I said, you can be able to see in this we have categorical data at some point, and also we have the missing data. So I think now you have a clear indication or a clear difference between time series data. Number two, the binary data or what they call cross-sectional time series data. Number three, longitudinal data. Okay, now that you have a clear information or you have a clear understanding between these three type of data sets. Now my next question is, or my next, sorry, my next section is handling missing data. So as you can see, our second data has missing data. This is now the longitudinal data. Now let me not use the second data. The longitudinal data. Now that you know what's longitudinal data, what's panel data, and so on. Now, in our scenario, this longitudinal data has missing data. You'll be able to see that. You can attest to that. You have missing data all over here. And if I go to missing data, now my next, so handling missing data. So missing data, so the reason for handling missing data, actually missing data can bias results and reduce analytical power or the statistical power. That is the main reason as to why you need to be careful with this missing data. Now there are two common methods. We have multiple imputation, ICE, what we call the multiple chain imputation by chained equation. That's what they call ICE in Stata. Another like R, they call it mice, but instead we call it ICE, imputation by chained equation, and linear interpolation. Now, choosing the right method depends on the dataset type and the missing data pattern. So these are the things you need to consider, because when you go to online, maybe you are having you're doing some research or some analysis, and you encounter this scenario of missing data. Maybe your first option is to go to online, you search, maybe you come across my YouTube channel, you come across a video that I've done on how to handle missing data in binary data using multiple imputation. You just watch the video, you see, oh, I think this video suits me. Maybe you go, because most of the time I do share the do file with the codes. You can post the video, you copy the do file, and you proceed with your analysis. But that will be wrong, because majorly these videos in my YouTube channel, they are meant for, actually they are meant for to be as a foundation or as a reference, but it doesn't mean that you can use them like for your final, maybe your final project, maybe analysis or research and so on, because there are some things that I've not explained, I've not covered in those videos, you see. So maybe the only reason you can do, the only thing you can do, maybe you can just contact me, because my email is all over the YouTube channel, or you can also see on the comments, some of individuals have just contacted me who need help, and my email is there. So you just contact me, we have one-on-one meeting, and I explain to you, because now there are these things you need to consider: the data set type and the missing data pattern, which I think will be measured like in this part of missing data pattern. I think we'll explore them more in our next video. Yeah. So that's our handling missing data, and we are going to talk about this multiple imputation, ICE, and the linear interpolation. Now the next step is now this multiple imputation by chained equations. Sometimes we call mice. Now it's suitable for binary and longitudinal data. That's the first point. This approach or this method can be used both in binary and longitudinal data. Now that you understand what is binary and longitudinal data. Number two, it creates multiple data sets by feeding in missing values with reducible estimates. Reducible estimates. And these reducible estimates, what we call these are actually the values that are reasonable. So it's not something that is not making sense. It's values that are reasonable. Now it retains the variability and uncertainty in the data. Now an example, we have customer satisfaction levels missing at random in longitudinal studies. So like in this case, if you look at this longitudinal data, these missing data are missing at random. Like there is no certain sequence that they are maybe following, so they are missing actually at random. So and when you understand that, or when you confirm that maybe your data is missing at random and your data is longitudinal, then at that point you can be able to move to this kind of what this kind of method of handling missing data. But first of all, data when missing depends on observed data, so missing at random assumption. So you see, this is something that you need, that you cannot just look at the data and say, oh, my data is missing at random, my data is not missing at random. You should understand. So it's something we need to sit down, we discuss, we look at the data, we do all the cleaning and so on. After that, we can be able to come up with the best approach. Now, let us move to the next thing. Now, linear interpolation. I know this method is a kind of unique, and it has not been used in many, let us say in many papers. Okay, it has just started coming up of late, simply because past papers or past project researchers actually have been relying more on surveys. Maybe at the end of the day you end up having a longitudinal data, yeah, something like that. But now this interpolation, now in the current situation we are on, the current generation of by generation I mean the current like the AI, you understand, the AI, like the business, everything has now gone on to online, has gone digital. So people have started venturing into different businesses, and now at the end of the day you find that these individuals, before they venture into these new businesses, they need some past data, like to look at the trend before they do the investment. So and that's the reason as to why now you find out this kind of data has started coming up, like the methodology has started coming up because people are now utilizing this type of time series data. And now this method is both actually is suitable for both time series and binary data. So like the binary data, remember I already presented it here. So if you have a data like this qualifies to be a binary data as long as it follows this structure, and if you are dealing with an independent each like an independent country or company or market separately, then that data qualifies to be a time series. So this methodology of handling missing data is best for both binary data and time series data. So but the major thing or the main thing that you need to ensure is that this methodology assumes a linear trend between observations. So if your data is non-linear, then now you are not going to apply this linear interpolation. So you see, you have to do those robust robust check. You have to do it before you apply this method. So it's best for data where missingness is minimal and follows a smooth trend. So it's a key thing, a trend. It has to be there. Perfect. I think so far so good. Now you understand, up to this point, you understand the three types of data sets. You understand when to use linear interpolation and when to use multiple imputation. Now, the next thing is that it's just a summary. Summary. So we have the imputation chain equation versus linear interpolation. Which one to choose? So multiple imputation, there's a good for both binary and longitudinal. So I told binary also is also for binary. There are binary period where they follow the longitudinal structure. So it's still applicable for that. Now the advantage, it retains the variability and uncertainty. Key limitation, computational intensive is so intensive in terms of the computation, because you have to do all the settings clearly. And the second one is the linear interpolation. This one is also applicable for both time series and binary data. So the key advantage is just simple and quick. Key limitation, or is assumes linearity, may offer simplified trends. That is the key limitation. So you need to be sure, or you need to ensure that your data is linear before you apply this kind of method. Yeah. So up to that point, I've clarified or I've explained to you what we mean by this type of three type of data sets, that is time series data, longitudinal data, and number three we have the binary data. So I've clarified that out, and I want to use linear interpolation, which is actually coming up of late, like the method is dominating, and want to use multiple imputation. So that is what majorly I wanted you to understand in this video. So our next video, actually in the next video, now we'll go hands on with the multiple imputation using the chained equation in this data. So be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you can be able to get that video, which actually is going to be so important, because in that video we are going to do the analysis. We are going to have what we call a binary regression model, but before that we are going to use the multiple imputation using the chained equation method. So I'm going to use this exact data set, and I do all those handling of missing data. And that's it. Now you know the difference between the time series, binary, and longitudinal data, and how to choose between multiple imputation ICE and linear interpolation for missing data. So if you have at this point, if you have any question, or you want me to cover another topic, please drop a comment below. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.